Welcome to my humble abode. Hi, I'm Lara, I'm 22, I'm Filipino, I'm a Lumpia fan.
I'm Olivia Rodrigo, I'm a Filipina, I'm a Lumpia Fan.
Today I'll be showing you guys my record collection. So I've been collecting records since I was, I think, 15, and they span a very great deal of variety, like genre, vibe, year, vibe. So I just wanted to talk about it because I thought, I don't know, it'd be fun. I kind of like watching stuff like this. I don't know, I'll try to keep it brief, but I'm not known for, I'm a woman of many words. So anyways, I've organized it by genre, name, and then year. So some of it may be a tad controversial depending on what you believe is pop, what is alternative, and what is rock. But it's my boxes, so I don't really give a f. Even though I said I'll try to keep it brief, I do think that this will be very, very long. Because I think we're going to go through almost 70. And I don't know, like, I just have things to say. I always have something to say. That's my real reputation. I always got so to say. You guys see how my camera's shaking? It's because I don't have a tripod. Anyways, let's get into it, I guess. So we're starting with pop. And the first one I have, and I'm doing it by last name, is Sour. I truly don't believe that any girl right now who's making music can sing as well as her, bar none. I'm Filipino, so of course I love Olivia. She's like a sister to me. We've never met, but I feel like we would get along. People like to give Olivia a lot of shit, but most of the time I feel like it's really baseless. But her voice is so gorgeous and she has so much control and she obviously knows what she's doing. I love that she's very honest, and that's why I think people like her, even though I do believe that the music does speak for itself. She's very honest, she's very real, and that's why I think so many people call her cringe, because they can't be faced with the cringeness of the realities of life. My favorite tracks off this are Deja Vu and Favorite Crime. Those are the top for me. The next one I have is Gwen Stefani, This Is What the Truth Feels Like. I think somebody bought this for me when I was 15, because I was going through my No Doubt era. This album interested me because it was surrounded by scandal and how her ex-husband cheated on her with her family nanny, allegedly. Gwen definitely has her issues, her problematicness. So I hadn't listened to this in ages before I recorded this video, and then I listened to it because I was trying to listen to all my records, and low-key, some of the songs bang. It's kind of campy, the beat is good. My favorite songs off this are Used to Love You and Misery. I forgot to mention my background in music. So my dad is a metal drummer, says a lot. And I grew up singing, of course, I'm Filipino. And I played the guitar since I was 6. I used to take lessons all the time. And we're about to hit something that probably won't go away for a while. So, Fearless Platinum Edition by Taylor Swift. This album came out when I was 8 years old. And me and my sister were fucking obsessed with it, of course, because I was like 8. And she was 10. I love Taylor so much. And I'm very happy that I got to live through the time of her career because I've witnessed her grow so much as an artist. My fave tracks are Coming With the Rain, The Other Side of the Door. Speaking Out by Taylor Swift. This album was my whole fucking life when I was 9 years old. I used to borrow my dad's speakers and put the headphones on in the kitchen and literally listen to it front to back over and over and over again, like all fucking day, because I was jobless, obviously. I think this is her most honest work, as most works are when you're 19 and you literally can't take it anymore. Especially because she was just so fucking famous. Always loved this album so much. It was the first album I ever had that was mine, like on CD, that I bought at Walmart. And like I said, it's her most honest work. I value that in music so much, because I think it's just cringe when people write about stuff that's just like bullshit. And then you know it's bullshit. You can feel it. But the way this is pressed is low-key weird. It just doesn't sound right, the actual vinyl of it all. Favorite tracks, Dear John, Last Kiss, Speak Now. And then we got 1989. This is one of the best contests I've been to. I'm gonna be very real with you guys. I don't care if it's cringe to say. Miss Taylor again. This came out when I was in 8th grade. And this is my favorite Taylor Swift album. I think she stepped out of her comfort zone so much here, and it obviously rewarded her. She got Album of the Year at the Grammys. And my favorite track is Blank Space, period. And I Wish You Would. Those are the best ones for me. And then we have Reputation. At this time I was fighting for my fucking life to defend her, and for a while, like, I never ever listened to this album. I listened to it though, the same way I listened to the Gwen Stefani one, and I was like, low-key, this has fucking bangers. Like, this is bangers. It has one of the most random collabs of all time with, what is it, Future and Ed Sheeran. Yeah, pretty random. My fave tracks are Don't Blame Me and Getaway Car. And then we have Lover. I listened to this last night. I think this one's so beautiful. Let me show you this one and I'll show you the Reputation one too. Look how gorge. So gorge. And the other side is teal, but I really feel that the video is already too long and I've only shown like a few things. But let me show you this. This is cool. It's so fucking cool. She inspired me a lot when I was younger. And still now, I still do love her and I miss her. I miss her. What? And my favorite tracks off Lover are Death by a Thousand Cuts and Lover. And Cruel Summer. And now we're into alternative or like indie. I'm gonna go with alternative though. I feel like indie doesn't mean anything. When you talk about alternative, you gotta talk about Bon Iver. So this is Bon Iver for Emma Forever Ago. It doesn't sound good on vinyl, but I love this album. Very, very good. It's a real 2010s kid classic. Every time you hear it, you just feel it. It's music you would listen to when you wake up at 6 a.m. and you have to drive somewhere. And you're just like thinking about everything that's ever happened to you. At least for me. My favorite tracks are Creature Fear and For Emma. Belongs Florence and the Machine. This one is also a 2010s kid classic. It just broke boundaries. This album is very dear to me, and I even performed Rabbit Heart in high school with my little chamber group, which is what you call a music group if you go to art school. So my favorite song is probably Girl with One Eye and Rabbit Heart. And Afar Lana Del Rey. This is one of my greatest. It's just greatest. I really don't think Lana will ever top this. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's raining, it's on. I'm doing laundry, it's on. She structured it very well. A lot of the songs have the same vibe. It doesn't all sound the same, which I think is super interesting. And she did a good Sublime cover. It's hard to do covers sometimes because they just sound the same as the first, but she did really well. It's a very good mix of the classic sound with the modern lyrics. Kanye West is Blonde and Gone. Life on Mars ain't just a song. My favorite tracks: NFR, Happiness is a Butterfly, Melodrama, Lord. And when we're talking about 2010s kid classics, this is just the one. I was 16 when this came out and it ruled my fucking world. I would listen to this all the time. I remember cleaning up the red Solo cups for my 16th birthday party. We hadn't even been drinking and I was listening to Sober too. I went to this concert. It was glorious. It was beautiful. She slayed. It's an amazingly honest album, and she wrote it when she was 19. And I think it's hard to make a sophomore album, but this one's probably one of the greatest. I think she's so smart and she's so intentional on this album about the sounds that are on it and the way that she says things. My favorite tracks are Sober 2 and Perfect Places. This is my signed Peach Pit EP. It's supposed to be 2 discs, but I won the Sweet F.A. Drop the Guillotine one. This was during their fundraiser for Black Lives Matter in 2020. I've seen them a few times. They're from here, which is cool. This is the early version of Drop the Guillotine, so not my favorite, but my favorite little riff. My favorite track from this, of the 2 discs, is Sweet F.A., but of the whole EP, it's 17. And I have another signed Peach Pit copy. I'm just Vancouver like that. And this is Being So Normal. This also ruled my high school world. Every indie person in the Lower Mainland, they were bumping this shit in 2018. My favorite track is Tommy's Party. This is totally not alphabetical now because I was going by last name and this should have been before Del Rey. Punisher. This is the fucking shit. I love an album about female suffering. It's just like real as fuck. Like there's nothing realer to me. I wasn't like an OG Phoebe fan. I wasn't really there for like Stranger in the Alps. I discovered her via Spotify Discover. They just put Kyoto on my shit and I was hooked forever and I've loved her ever since. And one time I posted a cover on my story and she liked that shit and it was the greatest day of my little life. I used to bump this all the time, but I'm mentally better now, so not as much. Back then my favorite song was Moon Song. I think my favorite song now is Garden Song and Halloween. Back to 2010s classics. The 1975. This is very impactful and had irreversible damage to society. It literally ruled my world at one point. Not when it came out. When it came out I liked it, but I hadn't related to it yet because I just wasn't running down alleys and kissing girls, I guess. I was 18 once this became my obsession. Like I was just like, this is real as fuck. I love how in their music you can always hear their influences. You can always hear the Clash, you can always hear the Jackson 5, you can hear everything, especially in this one, and it's just, they put everything they had in it, which is what I love about music. I love albums like this because when I listen to it I feel like I'm in their little world. In Britain, in London, my favorite tracks, Settle Down and Girls. I Like It When You Sleep for You're So Beautiful, It's So Unaware of It, one of their greatest. A lot of people say this is their best. I think they're tied. The first and second one are just as good as each other. The riffs are so bright and so intentional. It feels like they were experimenting, but they knew what they were working towards. And I feel like sometimes people are experimenting, they're just noodling around. I also like their commitment to visual. I feel like the concepts of the music, when you listen to it, especially on vinyl, just pop out, like you know exactly what they're talking about. You can see it. I think I'm gonna have to go with Somebody Else and A Change of Heart. Somebody Else, irreversible impacts on society. And that will wrap up our alternative. And we're gonna head into other and musical and soundtracks soon, followed by R&B and soul. Other is an interesting little section because some of these I just put in other because I simply haven't listened to them. This is The British Concert by Nana Mouskouri. I'm sorry if I butchered that. She's a Greek singer. She was also a politician. My ex-boyfriend's mom gave this to me unprovoked. And I listened to it once. I like the instrument in it. I couldn't figure out what it was. It's a Greek instrument. They use a lot of Greek music. Don't have a favorite track because I can't remember. Carmina Burana, The Medieval Chants. I thought this was Carlos Carmina Burana. I just glanced and I picked it up at the record store. It was probably like $3 and I bought it, and then I listened to it at home and I said, what is this? Because it's medieval chants. It's not really my thing. The Joy of Christmas, New York Philharmonic and Leonard Bernstein. This is the original print, actually. They played it in 1963. I love putting this on at Christmas, just fucking peak vibes. I like the 12 Days of Christmas and Silent Night probably the most. And now we're into musicals and soundtracks. This is an original print of the Grease soundtrack. My mom always told me that her and her sisters were big Olivia Newton-John fans, and I guess I became one too because I would listen to this all the time. Me and my sister would duet it. Or sometimes she would just make me duet it, and I would sing both parts, and she would giggle because she was like, that's silly, because I'd have to jump my little octaves. Fave track, There Are Worse Things I Could Do, and You're the One That I Want. Sound of Music, original print. I think my mom showed it to me one time on the VHS tape when I was very young, and I became obsessed, and I would hum it all the time at school. And then I got a note sent home because I wouldn't shut the fuck up. I think Julie Andrews is just legendary. She's one of those people that's born to sing. My favorite track is Maria by Julia Do Re Mi. West Side Story, the original print of the soundtrack, A Sleigh. I love this musical. Pretty sure this is also from my ex-boyfriend's mom. Shout out Jodie. This is also the original print, and it's interesting because Natalie Wood doesn't sing in this movie, which I think many people overlook. It's actually Marnie Nixon. And she also sang for Hepburn in My Fair Lady. And I just think this is gorgeous. I just love this musical. I never saw the remake, but I'm sure it was good too. I just love it. When you're the Jets, you're the best. My favorite track is America, and I Feel Pretty. We're into solo singers, which I should have put that British Concert in, but I forgot because I never listened to it. And Julie Andrews, Christmas with Julie Andrews. My favorite of this one's Deck the Halls. She's got a gorgeous voice. Another one I haven't listened to probably ever. Pata Pata, Miriam Makeba. I just heard that she was really great, so I bought this and then I saved it for a special time and then I never listened to it. Maybe tonight's the night. L.O.V. Nat King Cole. This is the original mono version printed in the US. I haven't listened to this in a while either, but my favorite tracks are L.O.V.E. and Girl from Ipanema. The Jacksons, by the Jacksons. It's just the same as the Jackson 5, but they had to change their name because they switched studios. Or labels, Sorry, we're in R&B and soul now. I also haven't listened to this in ages, so I don't know what my favorite track is, and I'm sorry. Then we have one of my favorite albums I have ever owned. Jackson 5 Christmas album. This is one of the most amazing things ever. Like, I found it at the store, and it was in a glass case, and they were like, serious inquiries only, and I said, I'm fucking serious. This is one of the greatest ever. And I was listening to it the other day with my best friend, and I was talking about how Michael Jackson would piss me off so bad if I was the other Jackson 5 members. Like, it feels like he just came out of the womb, and he was like, oh, Frosty, yeah. My favorite tracks are obviously I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus and Little Drummer Boy, and Frosty Snowman's pretty funny. I don't know why he's fucking wailing on it. Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder. This album was given to me on my 20th birthday. It's so full of sunshine and love. It's so rich. You just feel like you're bathing in sunlight. It's gorgeous. It also comes with bonus songs. The music is just fire. Like, it feels so together. It's like he wrote it all at once. My favorite tracks are Knocks Me Off My Feet and Isn't She Lovely and As. And then we have something that I truly believe changed the generation. Not to say that Stevie didn't, or not a slam on Stevie like that. Need I Say More? No. I truly believe this is one of the most important and greatest albums of my generation. This is one of my favorite albums of all fucking time. I think SZA, especially on this album, really speaks in code sometimes, like you never truly know what she means, but I think that, I'm not even sure if she meant to do it, but it's so interesting because it makes you feel like you're reading her diary, like it's not written like it's meant for you to understand, but you still know what she means because you can feel it. So thank you, SZA, for this. I used to listen to this constantly. My favorite tracks, Normal Girl, that's my most played song ever. How fucked is that? And 20 Something, that's my other favorite. And Supermodel. And now we're into rap. Flower Boy. It's a good one, what can I say? This album, like some other ones I mentioned, had an insane impact on society. This album was like his pre-kickoff. No, you know what? It is his kickoff, because then after this he made Igor, and that was huge. That was one of his biggest. And he was 26 when he made this album. My fave tracks are 911/Mr. Lonely and See You Again. And then Call Me If You Get Lost, Tyler. This is my favorite Tyler album. I think this is his most honest work. I mean, he's got like an 8-minute spoken word. Like, of course it is. I just love it. It makes you feel like he's telling you a story, and it's also got bangers. It's perfect. I saw it in concert. It was fantastic. He's a great performer. Must be really hard to perform all by yourself. No band, no nothing. But I could be mistaken, but before, Tyler used to always say he never drank, he never smoked. I'm not sure if he mentioned it in other songs, but he mentions it a lot in this music a couple times that he was like smoking joints. And I think weed smoking just changes people's music. Like, it's true. And this is a prime example, and it's Slate. My favorite songs are Sweet, Lemonhead, Juggernaut, Wilshire. Wilshire? I also just love the imagery. Like, you can see what he's talking about. It's amazing. And now we're gonna head into punk/punk adjacent/new wave/goth. Yeah, I just had to shove them all in the same category. I'm sorry. Whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not, by the Arctic Monkeys. They had one effect pedal in a fucking dream. It pops out of the fucking speakers. It's kind of like what I said about the 1975 albums. Like, you feel like you're there, kind of. Like, it pops. It makes you feel like you're in their little world. My favorites are Marty Bum and A Certain Romance, as well as Still Take You Home. I like that one too. The Clash. There's so much that modern punk and modern rock owes to The Clash, including the Arctic Monkeys in that previous album I just mentioned. I love The Clash. They're so dear to me. And Joe Strummer's a major icon to me. My faves off this one are Janie Jones. That's one of my favorite Clash songs. And I'm So Bored with the USA. And one of my first great finds, London Calling. This is the 1979 remastered etched version. Whatever that means, I found out online. This was like the fucking Bible to me when I first bought it. My fave track is Train in Vain, which is the secret track, and Spanish Bombs. The Head on the Door, The Cure. Brown bought me this when I turned 20. It was gorgeous and amazing. I think this is my favorite Cure album, though I do love Disintegration. I don't know who doesn't love Disintegration. The Cure is very, very good at capturing feelings. I've always loved The Cure, ever since I found out about them. I've loved them. My favorite tracks are In Between Days, Push, and Close to Me. Nirvana, obviously. I used to drink a giant iced coffee and bang my fucking head to this. They knew their riffs. They knew what they were doing with this one. This is post-Bleach. They wanted to get poppier, I guess. And I think like people shit on this all the time because like people love to shit on stuff that's popular. But it's popular for a fucking reason. My favorite tracks are Lithium, Smells Like Teen Spirit, and Something in the Way. One of my greatest finds ever. The original print of Doolittle by the Pixies. This is... I was fucking geeked when I found out about this. It was gorgeous. And also, I'm sorry if I'm so deadpan in the way that I deliver things, even though I'm saying like, I'm so excited, and I'll be like, I'm so excited. It's just how I am. Like, I'm sorry. I can't be somebody I'm not. This is one of the most important albums to me. Changed my life the first time I listened to it. And they had a Filipino bassist, so. My favorite track is Wave of Mutilation, Here Comes Your Man, and Mr. Greaves. Road to Ruin by the Ramones. Obviously revolutionary. They're one of my dad's favorites. My fave track is I Wanna Be Sedated. And then to end off the punk adjacent new wave goth, we have Speaking in Tongues by the Talking Heads. I never really got into Talking Heads. It's not my thing. I just bought this on a whim thinking that I would like it. And I didn't really, but at least I tried. My favorite track, I guess, is This Must Be the Place. I don't know, it's not my thing. There's just like some music that doesn't click with me, and it just didn't. I don't know. Nobody's fault. Probably mine. The largest span in my collection genre-wise is classic rock, which might not have been obvious to those of you that just watched the Olivia Rodrigo part. Even though I love her, a lot of you think that liking Olivia Rodrigo means you couldn't like classic rock, which is crazy because maybe the two are closer than you think. So we got Beach Boys in Concert by the Beach Boys. Not a huge fan of live vinyls. This one's a good one though. I wish I had some of their other albums, their non-live ones, because I don't know when I bought this. My favorite track is Fun Fun Fun. The Beatles is a compilation album of their greatest hits kind of, and also their singles that were never put on an album. Like I Want to Hold Your Hand, like the earlier stuff. I think many people today who talk about how overrated the Beatles are don't understand. Maybe not don't understand, it's a little condescending. Just don't know just the amount of impact that they had on popular music. Like without the Beatles, you wouldn't have much of anything, really. My favorite tracks are I Wanna Hold Your Hand, 8 Days a Week. And then we have my favorite Beatles album, Revolver. This is the greatest. This might be my favorite album of all time. Having a hard time in life, it's Revolver. It's always gonna be Revolver. This was truly their first acid album. They had done the Weed album, Rubber Soul, and their next few albums actually would be acid albums. But this was their first acid album. So it wasn't too, I guess, meta yet. So I really love it. It's very, very special to me. My favorite track is Eleanor Rigby and For No One. That's one of my favorite Beatles songs, as well as Here, There, and Everywhere, which is sampled in White Ferrari by Frank Ocean. I wish I had any Frank Ocean vinyls that I could mention here, but I don't. My friend Will, one time, he sent me a picture of Blonde in the Beat Street record shop. I replied immediately. I said, give me that shit. I will send you money right now. And then he responded probably 30 minutes later, and he said, I already left. And I said, why? Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I didn't say that right. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. This album is often considered the Beatles' greatest work. This was, at least it feels like, like I wasn't there. They were more mythical than ever before. Like, they were these huge beings, and you can see that, like, with the way they even chose the cover. And they put themselves, like, among all these people, these famous people. Bob Dylan's in there, too. I love how theatrical they were here. This one had lots of big band stuff on it, and I really liked it. My favorite track is When I'm 64 and A Day in the Life. Then we have the Magical Mystery Tour. This was even more mystical than the last one. I like albums with bits, and they were doing a lot of movies at this time, so it was like bit after bit, right? It felt nostalgic because of Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever, because those were both about childhoods. And I felt like this was the last album before they started like fucking hating each other. It felt like a look inward. I think somebody said before that Strawberry Fields Forever is like a therapy session for John Lennon. My favorite tracks are Blue Jay Way, Strawberry Fields Forever, and Penny Lane. And then we have what is called the Beatles, but I call it the White Album. I think this album was their worst and their best. Some of their worst songs, some of their best songs. It's long as fuck. It needed to be like 10 songs shorter. Sorry, I don't mean to slam on the fucking Beatles. It felt like they were getting sick of each other though, like you can kind of hear it. It's very much less cohesive than any of their other pieces, but it was ambitious, I will give them that. My favorite tracks are Helter Skelter, Obla-Di Obla-Da, and Happiness. They got their shit together for this one. I also got this on my 15th birthday. It's very special. And it was the last one that they recorded together, even though the other one came out after Let It Be. So it feels very final. My favorite tracks are Oh Darling, Golden Slumbers, and I Want You, She's So Heavy. The Cars. This is one of my favorite album covers of all time. I love his voice, and the music just jumps. And my favorite tracks are My Best Friend's Girl and Just What I Needed. Heartbeat City. Cars. All the music just makes you feel like I'm in an 80s movie, and it's a little romantic and it's summertime. Especially this album. And they just love the synth on this one. They loved it. My favorite song on this one is Drive, but I also like Magic. Songs that I'm banned to play in the house. So Blood on the Tracks, Bob Dylan. My mom always says, all Bob Dylan has is stories. Well, I like them. He's special to me. This album makes me feel like Jack Kerouac. Like I don't know where I'm going, but I just left my girl at home. My favorite track is Buckets of Rain and Tangled Up in Blue, of course. Bob's Greatest Hits Volume 2, Bob Dylan. I don't even remember when I bought this. I probably haven't listened to it a lot. But I love Dylan, and I love the harmonica. And my favorite track is All Along the Watchtower, even though everyone knows that's Jimi Hendrix's song. Kind of like how Monster is Nicki Minaj's song. And then we have the real kicker, Rumors. What can I say? I found this in a record store. I remember I was trying to choose between 2 records because I didn't have enough money at the time because I was 16. And then my friends were like, just get Rumors. And I was like, okay, I never listened to it in full ever. I put it on when I got home and I stayed up all fucking night. And I listened to it all night. Changed my fucking life. It's one of the greatest ever. They were a band ravaged by romance and heartbreak. I understand what Mr. Shu was fucking on about. My fave tracks are Go Your Own Way, I Don't Wanna Know, and The Chain. And then we have Tango in the Night by Fleetwood Mac. This is a great one too. It's romantic, it's lovely. Wasn't quite as life-changing, but props to them. If I'd ever made Rumors, I would have stopped making music forever. Favorite song is Everywhere. So then we have the original print of All Things Must Pass by George Harrison. It's old as hell, and this is music that you would watch the sunrise to. I loved George when I was in my Beatles phase. He was always my favorite Beatle. My favorite track is All Things Must Pass and My Sweet Lord. Axis Bold as Love, Jimi Hendrix. Why did I think that would open the way that it didn't? He was the king of the guitar. Look at him. He's one of my favorites to listen to play the guitar. My favorite track is One Rainy Wish and Bold as Love. Glass Houses by Billy Joel. Ooh, coming out here. This was in the $5 bin and I said, fuck yeah. This album is so fun and it's youthful and it's just silly. It's silly. He's having fun. I would clean my kitchen to this. That's how you know something's upbeat and banging. My favorite tracks are Sometimes a Fantasy and Don't Ask Me Why. I have An Innocent Man by Billy Joel. I think this is my dad's, but not anymore it isn't. I fucking love Billy Joel. I think he writes fantastic music, fantastic melodies. And he makes you feel. My parents saw him in concert. They saw him at Madison Square Garden in 2021, and I was so jealous. But then they got COVID. My favorite track off this is Uptown Girl, of course. Led Zeppelin 4. This was a time changer for me. It was very special. I'm a big Zeppelin fan. I like to listen to them when I'm driving and play pretend just about all kinds of things in my life. And they wrote about Lord of the Rings a lot, which was random. My high school yearbook quote in senior year was from this album. Standing with my heel on the mountain of dreams, telling myself it's not as hard as it seems. I love the use of the mandolin in this one. I would love to learn to play the mandolin. My favorite songs are Going to California, obviously Stairway to Fucking Heaven. Double Fantasy, John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Very interesting to me because their musical differences are very stark, but it's fun to see how they work together. Before Beautiful Boy went viral, I held that song so close to me. My fave track is Watching the Wheels and Beautiful Boy. Then we have Ram, Mr. Paul McCartney. This one is just fun. It feels like you're on a little boat. Probably because he talks about boats in it. Some of Paul's greatest melodies are in this little album. His music is so full of sunshine. And my favorite track is Heart of the Country. Pearl, Janis Joplin. This one is very special. Makes you feel like, I don't know, it just makes you feel. I first heard her in Freaks and Geeks, and I respect her commitment to emotion. My favorite track is Cry Baby. I have Destroyer by Kiss. Not a huge Kiss fan. I think my dad would disown me if I was. My favorite track is Beth. And don't ask if it's because of Glee, because you're not gonna like the answer. Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. How could you have a record collection without that one? Sorry, it's this way. Not to sound like a little frat boy stoner, but this album is so special and it's so good on vinyl. I love to listen to this when I'm lying on the ground staring at the ceiling. I bought it in grade 12 at the peak of my stoner era, so. My favorite track is Brain Damage and Us and Them. And then I have Zenyatta Mandata by The Police. Not a huge Police fan, but something called to me this day. I picked it up. The drums are great on this. My favorite is Don't Stand So Close to Me. Then we have my favorite guitarist to listen to. Abraxas by Santana. I don't know if I can show this album cover. It's so melodic, it's so effortless yet so intentional. My favorite songs are Black Magic Woman and Oya Kamava. And then we have Santana 3 by Santana. I also discovered them through Freaks and Geeks. My favorite track is No One to Depend On. Endless Flight, Leo Sayer. This is an original print too. I just bought this for You Make Me Feel Like Dancing, so that's one of my favorite track. Breakfast in America, Supertramp. This is one of my greatest finds just because it was in like the $6 bin and I'd never heard of them, so I grabbed it. I'm sure people are like, how could you ever heard of Supertramp? I don't know, I was 16 at the time. I love this album because the songs totally stand on their own even so long later. My favorite track is Oh Darling and Goodbye Stranger. And the last album, Wings at the Speed of Sound. Yeah, my favorite song is Silly Love Songs. Don't have much to say. Haven't listened to it in a while. I hope you enjoyed looking through my vinyl collection. I know it's very vast and exploring many things. Kind of like someone that can't make up their mind, but don't put yourself in a box. Leave a comment on which one you thought was stupid and you hated it, or which one you liked. or if you like my general demeanor. If you haven't seen my last video with the Halloween bake-off, go watch it. There will be a Christmas bake-off coming soon. Thanks for watching. See you guys soon. I'm sure I'll have something to say.